Well, here it is. Yesterday, I wanted to come by, but that hurricane came up through our little valley, dropped about 6 inches of rain on us, and so I had a lot of time to think. And so my new series is called 40 Days. You look at all the 40 days in history. There's Noah, 40 days, 40 nights. You know, Jesus is out in the woods for 40 days. You know, it's it's a it's a thing. Right? Things change. You know, when you are have a conscious mind, and you put a prescription on it, and that's what prescriptions are about, having a conscious mind. So, I've been trying to get you guys to meditate, and I've invited you to come study. So, I'm going to do it over the old YouTube. So, I want you now try to blank your mind out. Starting now. Don't think about anything. Empty your mind out. Don't be distracted. And here I am at my country store diner, and there's people talking, and I didn't even know Fox News had so many channels, but we got 3 TVs, and they're all a different Fox News channel. So, I want you to blank your mind out. Don't think about any of this.
Oh, that's why. Then that's why.
Get a little tough. You can't do it, can you? So this is how you do it.
Each time the Steelers and Browns play, expect
When you have a conscious breath,
unless they tie.
you can have a conscious mind. Can you do that? So you breathe in 20% more than you normally do. You know, your autonomic systems, your breathing, your heart, all the enzymes and things of that nature. If you had to think about it, you'd fall over dead. So, with your conscious mind, you breathe deep, 20% more. And then you breathe out. 30% more than you normally do. And if you do that, that little squirrel in your head will be occupied, because you have to use your conscious mind to do this, otherwise you can't. So, start breathing that 20% in and that 30% out. And as you do that, your conscious mind will be totally focused on your breath. And as I count from 1 to 3, you're going to go deeper and deeper into a state of conscious relaxation. You're going to be away, not distracted by the illusion. You'll be away. You know, Buddha was on the side of the road, and a traveler stopped and said, "Oh my God, is that God?" And he goes, "Excuse me, are you God?" And Buddha goes, "No." He goes, "Well, what are you?" And Buddha said, "I am awake," because he was breathing 20% in and out, 30%. So, focus your conscious mind on your breath. And as you go into a conscious state of relaxation, I'm going to tell you things. And this will allow your subconscious mind, which is not a scary place, it is the Akashic record. It is the big book of time and space of what's going on. And you will be able to hear my stories and see them on the screen of the Akashic record. And you'll be able to see what's real and what's not. You'll be able to, as what people say, remote view. You know?
We got one that's about 60.
So,
I carried it. I just wanted to carry it on the
one, the conscious mind is going into a deep, deep state of conscious relaxation. You're no longer being distracted by the guy talking to me on my left. You are becoming aware of your imaginary mirror. That's behind your eyelids. It's when we go to sleep, where we have REM sleep. That's your imaginary mirror. So in your imaginary mirror, you see the white light of the prana and chi that brings you life. Keep calling us, that we're avatars, that we're just bags of water. And, there are a number of you folk out there who go, well, if you're an alchemist, turn lead into gold. Well, the lead that you need to turn into gold is your bag of water, those trace elements. Turn that into gold, and the gold isn't shekels. It is the gold of ascension. Seeing that white light, it turns into gold, white gold, the anatomic gold. See it clearly. And with that anatomic gold, you can do anything. You don't have to buy anything. You can do anything. How did I cure myself of diabetes, neuropathy, cancer, aplastic anemia? Through the use of anatomic gold in my higher conscious mind. I turned my leadened body into gold. So, what do you think? I know you're in a deep state of relaxation, but you could still leave a message, because you could do it from your subconscious mind. See it clearly. You could actually use your mind, not your thumbs, to write the message. See it clearly. So, what I want to talk to you about is, what I haven't talked to you about, is that, things have changed and things are changing. And in the next 40 days, if you can think back to what the world was like in 1999, I love Prince's song about 1999, Think back then. And now think about now. Almost 20 years later, look at what has changed. And yet you feel nothing has changed. It's all the same. So see it clearly. And in the next 40 days, I'm going to lay down some information that will change your life. Just like this little message. This is the first day of 40 days. This is the first day of 40 days where you can change everything in your life. You want to lose weight? It'll happen. You want to, whatever you want to be, you can be. See it clearly. Understand that you can be what you want to be. You don't need to be the automaton, the meat puppet, the ugly bag of water. You don't need to do, the puppet. You don't have to let that string pull you around. You don't have to think about wanting to be a millionaire or a movie star or any of the above. All the things I've been in my life, I did not to be a millionaire, not to be famous or powerful. I did everything I did because I wanted the experience, and that's what our life's about. Now, there were good 6 times when, the gang, the cult, the, mob who rules, and it isn't like, our senator said, oh, those women who were screaming at us, that was like mob rule. No. Guys, look at the 10 pillars of fascism. That's where we are now, right? And if you go back and read Plato's discourse on democracy, you could tell that guy hated democracy. He called it mob rule. He thought only the rich and powerful and smart guys like him should run everything. And that's a real recipe for disaster. And that's the cake we're cooking up right now. And it is already, everything has been put in the bowl and mixed up and poured into the pan and put in the oven. So it's baking right now. And for the next 40 days, we can change everything for the good. Or if we just say, oh, well, I can't, I'm so scared, I can't give up my job at Burger King. Oh, I need that car. Oh, I want to be rich. I want to be famous like Katy Perry. That poor girl, all those guys, they are MK Ultra. They're all butterflies, you know. I mean, how come some of us have open minds and the rest of us don't? It's because we don't let ourselves be co-opted by useless stuff. Somewhere inside of our avatar, we know something's wrong, and we know we have to step up. We know I mean, if you have children, if you have grandchildren, you better get, and it's not screaming. I mean, screaming could be one way, but prayer, meditation, and treating everyone the way you want to, but better and better. Realizing the dynamic of all our relations, that we're all connected. These are all things that we need to do in the 40 days. Now, I got 182 of you, my family. I mean, there should be 182,000, but I think I can change the world with you 182 there, right? And every day from now on, the countdown is, T minus 40. Today's the first day of 40. So in every day and every way, you need to take a piece of the earth and make it stronger. And that piece of the earth is what people call God is love. And what people call why. And I love all of you guys. And the love is why God created us, why love created us. God is a patriarchal word. God's no more a guy than, anything else, because God is love and everything that exists is love. And we have to step up to that love, right? When someone does something mean to us, we have to be empathetic and say, why did they do this? Why? What's going on? What do I need to help this person to step into love? If 182 of us can do that every day in every way, we will change the earth, The universe has only given me 182 of you. And by the end of 40 days, there will be 182,000. That's what I like to hear. We can, we will. Don't try, do. And I feel very, very optimistic, I mean, I'm homeless in the woods, and that's why I'm, living unbelievably comfortable, I came to this diner because I found, I went through a number of my suitcases and found a few dollar bills that let me put a few gallons of gas in my car, and I drove the 40 miles to go visit the mayor of this town, and I went to visit the woman who runs the training center, and she isn't training anybody, she's just got her job, so she gets a salary. Same with the mayor, I told them, what's going on in this town, and they go, well, we can't do anything about that. No, we can, and we will. So This is the first day of 40 days of healing the earth. I'm changing everything. So, because, the plan is, why did Donnie Trump become president? Because Hillary Clinton gave it to him. And she got 3 million more votes, right? All she had to do was visit 3 states. She would have won. But the powers that be wanted Donnie in because he had been training as the apprentice. He is the apprentice. Because the guy who's going to say, hey, you're fired, is going to be Mike Pence. And Mike Pence is going to be a scary dude. I mean, haven't you noticed how much he looks like Donald Sutherland in the Hunger Games? That's right. Do not give your power away. It is your power, not their power to take. And alchemy is to change anything in your worldview to gold, not so you can buy a car or be famous. People go, well, if the corporate structure is so evil. I mean, these people have children and grandchildren, don't they? No, they don't care. They don't think it's going to affect them. After this gigantic hurricane that went through Florida, I have a number of friends who live right where that Florida went. Is that part of the Panhandle is unbelievably beautiful, and who lived there mostly but rich people. Yes, there were folks who were fishermen and carpenters and service folk of the rich, but a lot of gated communities, a lot of little towns that were just so pretty and kept quiet. They didn't like tourists coming, but they got wiped out. And I have a friend of mine, since I've been doing, like to hear it because they know they're smart, they've been around, and I'm talking about them. And to the point where they closed the heart down so much that they had aneurysms and they had to have big heart surgery, And they still were so closed down that instead of the heart surgery being a success, they got infections, They have to let things go and step up. Sports coach. Yeah, he could be, but he's also the president of the Hunger Games. I mean, where I live, they live on their EBT cards, food stamps, and all they buy is processed food. I mean, I was over at one of my friends in a holler, and I was fixing the old lady's washing machine so I could wash my own clothes, and she had 2 daughters, and each of those daughters had 3 daughters, and each of those daughters had 2 daughters. So it's a house full of women, and there's 2 little boys, and they're taking all their angst of men out on these 2 little boys, and these 2 little boys are going to be scary monsters. They're going to be worse than Manson. It's going to be like Hannibal Lecter and Manson put together, and they'll be a governor or a senator. Because most of the people who are governors and senators are like that. They have experienced that. You look at Bill and Hillary, they both experienced that. Why do you think Bill was made president? Because the powers that be knew exactly who he was. He was a Rhodes Scholar. He was there in London. He did the same thing. He had to get out of town, and they hired him for the job because they said, listen, Bill, we're going to do a bunch of things to be a distraction. So we're going to give you this little girl, and you can fool around with her, and then it's going to go viral, and you're going to make a speech saying, I do not have sexual relations with that woman, caught in a lie, deposed, blah, 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 blah. All those 3 years. Did he get thrown out? No. Right? But he did get rid of Glass. Did he get thrown out? No. Right? But he did get rid of Glass-Steagall. He did give people enough weapons to turn the planet into a war zone. He did cut back on environmental change, and there was no difference between stupid Al Gore and stupid George W. They were both children of politicians who were bred for the job. Tweedledee or Tweedledum. But in the next 40 days, we can change that. And it's like my whole life, I've been a pebble dropped into the pond of body politic. And my little waves have changed things, and tell more people about this, because I'm going to try at least 4 days of the week, in these next 40 days. I'm going to go back to Johnny John Boy's school, because Johnny John Boy, I kept saying Johnny John Boy is the canary in the social coal mine. He is everything that is the powers that be have replicated, have genetically engineered the population to be, intelligent enough to do whatever they want him to do, neurotic enough not to do anything he wants to do. He's totally occupied with being rich and famous. I've worked so many years at this. How come I'm not rich and famous? Because his life is miserable. He's got 2 little boys that he ignores, that he should spend his life bringing up. Because without him there, they're going to make good old Mr. Moron Boy, who just became Supreme Court judge, worse than that. I went to college, I went to prep schools where I went with folks like that, There's a guy named Christopher Hedges who used to write for the Wall Street Journal and New York Times and a bunch of other things. He's written a number of great books about what's going on. Now, his perspective is, a little dire. I mean, he's saying exactly what's going on, but he's not giving a space for the positive change that we can do. Yes, we all figure it out eventually, right? And that's, a lot of people go, so why is the religious right, why are all these born again so backing Donald Trump, where he's a thief, a liar, a cheat. He's had sex with, he's been divorced 3 times. He's had sex with thousands of women inappropriately. Well, so have they. Look at any of those guys who have mega churches. I wired one of those, so I was around that church long enough to see that virtually everyone on their board was unbelievably the stuff they did sexually and monetarily and politically was mind-boggling. And I didn't wire the church, but I was sent back there to fix it, because the guy who owned the business, my boss, I was a consultant, meaning his sons were his electricians, and they were morons. And we wired a hospital, and we used this MC cable, it's armored cable. And with every roll of MC cable, you get a little bag of these plastic bushings that when you cut the armored cable, you slip the bushing so the edge of the armor doesn't cut the insulation of the conductors. And these morons just threw the bags away, even though I told them, hey, this is how it works. So you cut it this way, you slip the bushing in there, you put the connector on, you put it to the fixture. Well, they threw them out. We don't need these. It takes too much time. So, as soon as the hospital opens, light fixtures start exploding out of the ceiling, right? So that was mostly my job, to follow behind these guys, make sure no one died, and or try to keep them from doing really, when it big stuff, I took care of. Anyway, these morons wired this church, and they had a baptismal swimming pool, basically. You went in there and, they dunked your head under the water and you were born again. This is for people being born again. But the guy who gave them the most money raped little children 3 and 4 times a week. And he was a minister of another church. And this one was baptizing him in there so he'd get a new start. Oh, he's born again. He'll go to heaven even after doing all this crazy stuff. Anyway, the last thing is, so this guy was in the swimming pool so much, and these morons wired it so the electricity went through the handle of the railing going into the swimming pool. So you would get a pretty good jolt every time you went in there. So the last thing I fixed was the swimming pool, because the only guy ever going in that swimming pool was the guy who was a severe, sociopath pedophile. And I thought, I'll let God work it out. I mean, he was getting a good jolt every time he went in there. So, that's right. And my last YouTube where I showed pictures, I showed a lot of people, virtually everyone in that, people I loved. And that love wasn't about sex. That love was about my empathy and sharing of the experience, co-creation. That's what I did my whole life, was co-create. That's why I want to get the band together. That's why I want to, bring a circus around. I mean, I'll show you a few pictures of the circus that we had. It was quite amazing, the things we did. We stopped the nuclear power plant. We stopped the war in El Salvador. We brought, housing to thousands of people who had been thrown out of their rent-controlled apartments by guys like Donald Trump and his daddy. And we did it mostly by having a good time and caring for each other, And we didn't have lots of money, but we shared everything we had, and we lived well. Back in the late 60s, I was a newspaper photographer in High Point, North Carolina. And, Jim Crow was still there, but at High Point, the furniture factories were union, and so black people worked in them. And so the people who owned those factories didn't care what race you were, it's how good you could work. So everyone on the floor were brothers, black and white. Everyone in that town, black and white, drove the same Plymouth. There were rich people, but mostly everybody was working class, doing pretty good. Had their own house, had their own car, kids were going off to school. And there was a place called the Pink Tea Club, and it was the best food in town. And it was in the black neighborhood. And everybody was there, they opened for breakfast at 5, and everybody was there. And they basically, it was 24/7. They closed down around, 1 in the morning and opened at 5. But there were people working there all the time. And the lady who owned it, there's a black woman who's quite famous for black food. But she was, her food was amazingly sophisticated and beautiful. She'd make, she cooked for presidents and kings. She had a fancy restaurant in New York City. I think her name was Lewis. Her last name was Lewis. And Ethel or Elizabeth or E. Lewis. Anyway, this woman who ran the Teacup was like a couple. And they had cooked together since they were little girls. And she took me to her mother's farm that she still had, way out in the woods. And they were growing every vegetable they had. They had cows and goats. And these guys ate like kings, And today that same, and the people who had the best health in the United States at the late 60s were black tenement farmers because they grew their own food, nothing processed. They had everything fresh. And they had generations and generations of grandmas